Have you ever found yourself looking to start a business, tax overages, state funds, unclaimed property, and you found yourself spinning your wheels? You don't really know where to start or how to organize yourself so you can start making some money in this business? Well, in this video, I'm gonna help you make everything super simple. I'm gonna show you guys the 6 steps that I use when I coach people on getting started the right way. And trust me, when you watch this video, it's gonna bring you complete clarity and you're gonna be super pumped and excited to start making money in this business. Let's go. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and get right to it. This is gonna be my 6 steps that is gonna help you guys have complete clarity as you're getting ready to start your tax overages or state funds business. So the first step that I teach people whenever they join my coaching program or my digital program, I always tell them, like, look, before you even start making phone calls, you need to make a decision on what category you're going to focus on. Now, listen, this is for beginners because if you're a little bit more advanced, I get it. You're doing state funds, you're doing tax overages, you're doing mortgages and bankruptcies. I get it. You're an all-star. This is not necessarily for you. This is for people who are just getting started and haven't necessarily seen a great profit coming their direction. So for you guys, make a decision. Do you want to do state funds or do you want to focus on tax overages? There's a distinct difference because the filing process and the instructions and how you find your people are different between tax overages and state funds. The same can go for bankruptcies and mortgages, okay? But for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna keep it super simple and we're just gonna focus on tax overages and state funds. So make a decision, pick what you like. Me personally, I love state funds and I talk about this in other videos and why I think state funds are freaking amazing. But again, make a decision. That's step number 1. Step number 2, and this is where I think a lot of people get it wrong. They forget that if you become a business entity, you have over 400 reasons as why that is a huge advantage to you versus doing this as a sole proprietor or just as an individual doing this as a side hustle. Now, I'm not knocking your side hustle. If that's all you want to do this for, again, this video may not be for you. This is for people who actually want this to be their career. They want to make this their primary source of income. If that is you, you absolutely want to become a business entity as soon as possible. Now, there's obviously legal professionals you can consult with, like your CPA or an attorney. Me, I'm just giving you guys what I personally do and what I help people with when they become a coaching client of my own. I tell them, number 1, go file with the IRS. They need to know that you're a business. Number 2, you want to file with your state. The IRS is normally free to file. The state, depending on where you're from, it might be free or you might pay like 20 bucks to file with your state. Now, locally, you need to find out with your county and your city if you need to file with them so they know that you're conducting business in their area. Where I'm from, I have to file with both the county and the city. Again, filing with these 2 entities right here, it may cost you a couple dollars or it may be free. But at the end of the day, whenever you're starting a business, you need to understand that all these expenses can be wrote off at the end of the year. You're probably thinking, well, Joe, what's a business write-off? Well, business write-off is basically saying like, hey, this is a loss. Because I was in business, I lost this money. So don't tax me on these dollars that I lost because I was getting my business up and going. All right. But again, we can talk about that in detail in another video. Now, the legal stuff. Now, this is really important. You absolutely have to do your research. You need to find out how much money can you legally charge someone for your services, whether it be 10%, 20, 30. You guys probably seen in my previous videos where you get some states where there really is no rules. It's like the wild, wild west. It's just between you and your client and the agreement you guys have. And then you get most places that there is a cap. You can't charge too much. So again, do your research and find out what legal documents you need to have, because I think any course that you decide that you want to get into, if you decide this is going to be a business you want to run, everyone's going to have their agreement forms and contracts, and that is great. But at the end of the day, different states have different rules and they may have a template that you're going to use, and the form that you have may not even hold up, you know, with that state legally. So California is a great example. There is a agreement form that they provide for you when you're doing state funds. So you have to use their form. You can't use your own document when you're doing an agreement with a client. Okay. So again, that's all about doing your research. So let's get into the fun stuff. And this is the one that I think is probably one of the most important steps that most people forget or they just skip because they just don't know. It's funding. Now, I've had maybe 6 or 7 different business coaches for different business industries. I never start a business without hiring a business coach because I want to make the most amount of money as quickly as possible. And I know if I do it by myself, I know personally I'm not going to make that much money. But if I have a coach to show me how to do things, I know I'm going to do great. Now, but this is one thing all of my coaches seem to have skipped. And I want to make sure that you guys don't skip this yourself. So this is me coaching you for free. You need to get your business funded. Most businesses fail because of time and money and planning. Money always seems to be an issue for most of us. How stressful is it if you don't have funding for your business? Why would you want to start a business that you've never done before? You never tested, you never tried, you just heard other people do great things. So you try it and you find in the first 2 to 4 weeks, you're not making any money. It doesn't make any sense, right? So what do you want to do? Well, you want to go out there and you want to create your business entity, right? And then you want to go apply for a business bank account. And then you want to ask them, are you eligible for a business line of credit or a business credit card? Now, most businesses will not be eligible for a line of credit if you've been in business less than 1 to 2 years. So if you have an existing business that's been around longer than 2 years, chances are you have a great chance of getting a line of credit. Now, if you don't have anything like that, no business history, no transactions, then you might want to just stick with getting a business credit card. Now, here's the deal. This is different than a personal credit card. You can get 0% interest for the next 12 to 18 months. You can liquidate that money as cash. So therefore, you're giving yourself a cash advance to pay yourself, to pay for equipment, to pay for whatever you need to keep you afloat until you start making real money. And the awesome thing about business credit cards, it's not the same as personal credit cards. What does that mean? That means that, let's say, for example, you max it out. You spend $20,000, right? You pay yourself. You're only expected to pay 1% each month back, as you're paying back that credit card. That's all you got to pay, at least 1%. I always advise people pay more, but that's the bare minimum, right? Now, with that said, it does not impact your personal credit, the credit card usage. When you're doing personal credit cards, you got to make sure it's down under 30% utilization before you negatively impact your personal credit. But for business credit cards, it's different. Now, I'm not asking you or advising you to go max out your business credit cards. That's not the purpose of this video. All I'm saying is you want to have some type of funding so you're not spending your own savings. You're not spending like your retirement money, you want your income. You don't want that because you got bills to pay. But your business right there, that monster, it needs funding. You need stuff. You need supplies. You need materials. You need software. So you should be using other people's money to help you start your business, and then you pay back your debts. But here's a cool thing. As you pay back your credit card, guess what? You can use that money again and again and again, and you can use it at 0% interest. All right. And I have a whole section I teach about that and where to go and who to ask and how to ask for lines of credit. One of my personal favorites is business grants. This is money you do not have to pay back. You can apply for this 365 days out the year. You can apply for business grants, you get this money, and as long as you use that money in the way it's intended for you to use, like for equipment, for rent, for bills, for payroll, because you are an employee of your company, so you can pay yourself with business grants. You do not have to pay anyone back. There is no interest. As long as you can show that you used it in the correct way that it was intended for, you can absolutely use business grants. And I tell people all the time, if I could show you how to get $50,000 to $100,000, within a year, just in business grants and business credit, would that not be a game changer for you? Would you be less stressed if I showed you how to get $100,000? That's the question I tell people. So why are you chasing, these deals and chasing people on phone calls when you can get funded first, have less stress, and then you can start operating your business? So that's the question I always ask people. Now, number 5, your plan. You have to have a plan in place. And this is so important. I tell people all the time, what's your routine going to look like? Are you going to do skip tracing on some days, phone calls on other days? Are you going to do like your data input on other days? Like, what is your routine look like? Because if you just wake up in the morning and you just start doing stuff, there's no rhyme or reason to your routine. Well, that is going to kill your plan. You need to have a routine in place. Now, KPIs, what does that stand for? Well, that's your key process indicators. Now, these are the things that you do in your business and you track it to see if it's making a difference. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say 5 days a week, you make 10 phone calls a day. And out of those phone calls, one person picks up, out of 10 phone calls, right? So 1 out of 10, that's the ratio. Well, let's just say you study yourself for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and that's the average. And then you decide, I'm going to double down. I'm going to do 20 phone calls a day. And now you found yourself getting 2 to 3 people picking up daily versus 1. Well, that's an indicator, meaning the more volume of calls you make, the more likely someone is going to pick up, okay? But let's just say the same scenario, you do one person picks up out of 10 phone calls. And then you double down and you do 20 phone calls, but you're still only getting one person picking up. Well, that is a key process indicator that more phone calls does not equal more pickups. So it allows you to understand this data means that whatever energy you're putting, don't put any more, because more phone calls doesn't necessarily equal more pickups in that scenario. So you have to know what are your KPIs and what are you tracking to know if you're doing good stuff or if it's not actually working. You never want to guess and assume, because you might cut off the thing that's actually working for your business. You might cut it off unknowingly because you never really tested or tracked what is supposed to work. And lastly, we got step number 6, and this is the execution one. And this is what I tell people, this is game time. This is game on. You got your funding, you got your processes in place, you file for your business, everything is ready to go. Now you want to build out the mothership, right? You want to build out your website. You want to, so people know you're a credible business. You want to have a Facebook fan page. You want to have a LinkedIn profile, a Google business profile. You may not do this all at once, but this is something you can do and set daily goals. Like, I'm gonna build one thing at a time. Right? You don't need to build Rome in a day. Have a plan. Now, build everything out, build out your processes. Now you need to be consistent. I always tell people, do what you can realistically handle with your personal schedule, because you might still have a 9-to-5 job as you're watching this video. You may not have all the time in the world to build all these things out at once. So you might need to build out a few things layer by layer, but just be consistent with whatever plan you create. Just be consistent with it. You need to consistently learn. I put learn in there because if you stop learning, you think you know it all and you don't need to keep learning, then my friend, you're going to have some problems. I literally spent almost $10,000 in learning material, whether it be coaches or training programs and courses. I bought everything because I knew in my heart of hearts that $10,000 was going to translate into $100,000 that same year, because that's how hard I worked. That's the type of work ethic I had. And I did enough research to realize that unclaimed property, state funds, tax overages, I've learned that there's enough people out there that's doing great things to where I could absolutely be successful too, as long as I applied myself. So I had no problem using other people's money from the funding we were talking about. I didn't use $10,000 of my own money. I borrowed that money and then I went ahead and applied it to my learning process. And then I was able to grow, which is the last one right there. And you can grow when you start making money, and some money is going to go in your pocket for profit. Some money is going to be reinvested in your business when you're going to start growing and scaling a team. So I hired my team of individuals to help me grow my business. And that's exactly what I want you to do. Get yourself to a point to where you can be the CEO and you're not going to be a worker for your company forever, meaning you're not going to do the tedious tasks. That's not for you. You are the business CEO. You should be growing and scaling your business and hiring people to do all like the tedious stuff, like the skip tracing and the phone calls and the documentation. Someone else should be doing that for you, but you are the coach. You are the one telling people what to do, how to work, what to track, because you're the one that built it in the beginning. And then eventually, once everything is working, you step back and let other people run it for you, so you can step back and just collect a paycheck. All right, guys, so there you have it. I just told you guys the 6 steps that I teach people when they come in as a private coaching client, or if they get my digital course. This exact things I teach them. And I always stress to them all the time, make sure you follow these layers. Try not to skip steps. Don't go from an idea to making phone calls. That never works. And that's why most people fail in this industry. If you follow the steps I just showed you, you'll be super successful. You'll be less stressed and you're gonna get more stuff done. All right, stop watching this video. It's time to get to work.